going to share some light on the transfer portal and this whole rise of transferring up, going from D2 to FCS, FCS to FBS, and so on and so forth. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Trent Loehr. I'm a former college quarterback. I'm the owner, founder, CEO of Scholarship Accelerator, where we help families get college football scholarships. So today I want to talk about the transfer portal. I was just in a webinar with a friend, Dan, who runs his own kind of education company around recruiting. And he brought to light some very important points about the transfer portal and actually found the data points, which I'd just been too lazy to actually find. But it speaks on truth that I knew was true, but I just didn't have the data to prove it. And so now I finally do. So I'm going to show it to you. And it's this whole idea around transferring up. That's what the biggest deal with the transfer portal is. Everybody thinks it's the two big things are lateral transfers. You have guys transferring from similar schools to similar schools. And then you also have the transferring up, and that is D2 guys going up to D1 and so on and so forth. The issue this has brought on is everybody thinks it's really easy to transfer up. And that's like the goal of, I talk to a lot of families. I talk to a lot of different high school families. And most of the guys I talk to, they often say, oh, well, I'm just going to transfer up from this school. Or, hey, my goal is to transfer up and to go D1 still. And so it's kept this dream alive a little bit longer, which is totally fine. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I want to share some light so that way you can have a more realistic viewpoint of this stuff. Because I think this idea of transferring up isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it can definitely be harmful in your future as a player. And so the data that he brought to me, I'll just share with you guys, is that 32% transfer up from D2 to D1. And now you may be thinking, oh, that's a pretty good amount. I'm just talking about the guys that actually end up transferring. That's only of the 29% that actually find a home who enter the portal. And that means that less than 10% of those who enter the portal end up transferring up to a D1. And this is also including with and without aid. Of that 32% that end up D1 of those destinations, 10% were without aid and 22% were with aid. So that means less than 8% are getting less than 8% are getting scholarships at the D1 level that transfer from D2 or enter the transfer portal from D2. Majority of guys are still in the portal from transferring from D2. So this is something you have to realize, is that you have to have some kind of plan. And it doesn't have to be this super scripted plan, because it's hard to figure out what you're going to get when you enter the transfer portal. But you should have friends that are at D1s or know guys that are at D1s, and you should contact them and reach out and see like, hey, are you guys looking for, corner, a DB, quarterback, whatever it might be, and get that stuff ahead of time. So that way you're not just jumping in with no clue and you're just hoping for the best, because that's what too many guys do. They get caught up in the emotions. They're like, I didn't get enough playing time, or I'm too good for this, or it's my time. Why are things not going right now? And they get caught up in the emotions without thinking about it too much or without planning. And then next thing you know, it's too late. They've just burned their bridges from their past school, so they can't go back there. They don't want to go lower, obviously. So they're like super ego driven, and then they just don't have the ability or the film or whatever it might be to go D1. And so I just don't want you to be in that situation. And so the biggest thing is, I'll say, first off, I'll speak to the high school people, the families and the recruits out there. If you're going to a school with the intention of transferring up, it's the whole reason you're going to the school, I recommend that you look at other programs, you look at junior college, you look at other options, because I feel like that's not going to lead to a good path. Because if you plan on going to the school and dominating as a freshman right away, unless you're just an absolute one-of-one player, it's going to be extremely, extremely hard to do that. And what are you going to do? What's your plan if it doesn't work out? Your freshman, sophomore year, you don't even start. You barely play. And you have to be there your junior year. Are you going to be mad about that? Are you going to still enter the transfer portal regardless? Like, you want to make sure that you're going to the school for the right reasons. And of course, there's definitely no, wrong reasons, but I just feel like by saying, hey, I'm just going to school because I just want to be here for 2 years and get out, then what happens if you get stuck there for the next 4 to 5 years? And it definitely shouldn't be looking at it as stuck in my eyes. So you should definitely, if you have the dreams of transferring up, and that's definitely a goal of yours, that's totally fine. But at least go to a school that, hey, if this ends up not working out, if I never touch touch the field here? Am I okay with being here for the next 4 or 5 years? And that's something you have to be okay with, because the last thing you want is to just kiss everything away, enter the transfer portal, and end up being in that majority of people that did the same thing and are, without a home at the moment. So that's a big thing I want to talk on. The next piece from there is the transfer guys. So if you are currently in college and you're listening to this, again, just make sure you're coming into it with a plan. Like, I wouldn't do something super emotional as far as like just jump in because you're pissed off. Don't do that. Talk to your friends, talk to other people, figure out where might be a landing spot for you. So that way you at least have something, there's at least some level of interest before you even hop in the portal. I mean, even talk to your coaches. If you feel like, hey, my coach is somewhat understanding, then have that conversation and figure out if that's something that should make sense for you, because you don't want to make a rash decision that's going to cost you scholarship aid or cost you the chance of not playing football again, because that's happened to way too many guys at this point. And so just wanted to shine a light on some of the facts, the actual data, because I've been waiting for that stuff. I'm so glad Dan gave it to me, because I knew that was the case, but I just had nothing to back it up and I didn't want to speak too much on it. But overall, just transferring up is very, very uncommon. It gets only a little bit more common when you go to FCS level from D1s to D1s. But even then, it's not very common to see guys transfer up. And is it happening more often than ever? Yes, the cream definitely rises to the top a lot more because people can transfer. It's a little bit more fluid. But that does not mean everybody's going to be able to do it. That's, there's only limited spots. So just want to keep that in mind. If you enjoyed this, if you got something from it, be sure to subscribe for more. If you're looking for one-on-one help with recruiting, be sure to go to the description, click the link below, Scholarship Accelerator, and you can book a call with me there. And I will see you later. Peace.